welcome back. Today I'm going to be going over all the books I plan to read in March. Alright, so first book I plan to read in March is my professional reading book, or the book that I read at work, and that is Trauma Through a Child's Eyes. This is by Peter Levine and Maggie Klein. This is obviously a therapy book. It's a little bit hashed. Looks like it got something spilled on it, but I got it from a coworker, so it wasn't me. It was someone else. I don't even know if it was him. He probably got it from someone else too, because that's how these types of books get around. Therapists pass them from person to person, and they just get a little well used. Peter Levine is one of my favorite therapy authors. He also wrote Waking the Tiger, and that was a really great book. I've seen a lot of his work. I really admire the stuff that he does, so I'm excited to read this. Next book is the second book in the Malazan Book of the Fallen, and that is Dead House Gates by Steven Erikson. So I know that this has like new characters and everything in it, and it's kind of different from Gardens of the Moon. I think it takes place on a different continent. Other than that, I don't know a whole lot about it. I think you just have to consider Steven Erikson's books as if they are loosely related, but it's kind of like watching different seasons of American Horror Story, where they're all kind of related, but they all have different characters and a different storyline in each one. So that's kind of how I'm looking at these. The next book I plan to read in March is Shadow March by Tad Williams. And yeah, I'm reading Shadow March in March, which I guess could be considered irony if you like such things. This is the first book in the Shadow March series. I've read the Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn by Tad Williams. I read that several years ago and really enjoyed it. And I've even read other series by him, so I just thought I would pick this one up. I know it has something to do with the Fae and the world that they're in. They have been either fought and they lost, so they had to move behind into the fog, as they would call it, and now they've built up their armies or whatever, and they're coming back to attack the land of Shadow March in March. Alright, next book I want to pick up in March is Thunderhead by Neil Shusterman. This is the second book in the Arc of the Scythe futuristic series. In the future, there is no more suffering, pain, or anything like that. They've solved all of the world's problems. There's no hunger or anything, you can't, you can die, but you just come back to life unless you're burned. And so the biggest problem that they have in this world is overpopulation. So they have these group of people called the Scythe who go around gleaning the population so that they don't overrun the earth, I guess. So I enjoyed the first one. I'm excited to see what happens next. It's a YA novel, so I know that there's some tropes in there that are, common among YA books. But hopefully it's as much fun as the first one was. The last physical book that I plan to read, Wicked, The Life and Times of the Wicked Witch of the West. This is a retelling of The Wizard of Oz, but it's from the point of view of the Wicked Witch, and supposedly she's not really evil, she's just misunderstood. And it is by Gregory Maguire. I have heard a little bit about this book, but I thought it was time to read it. So that's what I'm going to do in the month of March. Alright, so now I'll get into the ebooks that I plan to read this month. I have a lot of ebooks, so I tend to read probably at least 4 of them every month. The first one is Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky, and this is the first book in the Children of Time series. It's a futuristic book. I guess Earth is dying, and so the last inhabitants of Earth have left Earth to go find a place to live somewhere else. Kind of gave me the Battlestar Galactica maybe vibes? I don't know. I'll find out. Next one I want to read is called Parable of the Talents. This is by Octavia Butler. So this is the second book in the Earthseed series and the final book. This book follows a group of people after the apocalypse, I guess. And I get from the first book, it was kind of hard to say like if there was really an event that happened or if this was just the downfall of society. It seemed very natural, and the leader of this group of people feels like people should leave Earth and go populate the stars. And she's created her own religion, and I really like the first book, and I hope that the second one is also as good. Is it just me, or are all these books starting to sound the same? Children of Time, people leave the dying Earth, Earthseed. She wants everyone to leave the Earth so they can populate the stars. Third book I want to pick up that's an ebook is The Burning Maze by Rick Riordan. This is the third book in the Trials of Apollo. Again, it's one of those, I kind of wish I had read Percy Jackson and whatever his Roman series is before I read these, because there's a lot of the same characters in there and probably a lot of spoilers. I keep going like, when did that happen? And I wouldn't know because I didn't read Percy Jackson. But Percy Jackson's in there. And there's some spoilers. And I think maybe the end of one of those series was the beginning of this one. Anyway, Zeus is mad at Apollo for something that Apollo did, and so he cursed him to be human until he could prove himself worthy to be a god again. And his task so far seems to be finding all the missing oracles, which I'm sure will lead to some world catastrophic event that he must prevent. Alright, the last ebook that I want to read is called Pawn's Gambit, and this is by Rob Hayes. And this is, I guess, a standalone fantasy, but there's another standalone that takes place in the same world, which was called Never Die. And I really enjoyed Never Die. This one's new, it just came out. And so I'm excited to get into it and see what this one's about. The last one was inspired by Japanese mythology. It had a Shinigami in it, which was a Japanese god of death. And so I'm excited to see what this one might have in it. I don't really know anything about it. Alright, and last, there's a couple of audiobooks that I'll be listening to this month. I try to listen to at least 2. Actually, I guess I listened to 3 because one of them I listened to with my kids. Because they like audiobooks. Not at all, right? The first one's called Sephriel's Hand by Melissa McPhail. This is the first book in A Pattern of Shadow and Light. So this series of books was on Kindle. They were all like $1, and the audiobook was on sale for like $5, so I just thought I would try it and see if it was any good. I got a lot of the other books in the series for free on Kindle. I guess they were on sale. So I think I have the first 3 or 4 books. So I'm going to start with the first one and see how it goes. And since I didn't really spend a lot of money on the other ones, I don't think I'll be that upset if I don't like it. It is an epic fantasy. I don't know a whole lot about it. I know it takes place after a genocidal war, so it should be nice and disturbing and dark and not happy, I imagine. Well, hi, kitty. Hey, meow meow. That's the devil. That's a devil kitty. She's a good girl. Not really. She's a bad kitty. She's a good kitty. Are you a good kitty? What are you doing? That's Fuzzy. I have a lot of pets in my house. Okay, second book that I will listen to on audiobook is called Strange the Dreamer by Lanny Taylor. I know this is a YA fantasy. The main character is named Strange, and they dream things, and I think the dreams are like a passageway to another world. I'm not sure. I guess I'll find out. I know it's a young adult novel, so again, it'll probably have a lot of young adult tropes, some of which I'm okay with and some of which I'm not. Hopefully it doesn't have a love triangle, because those are so annoying. Then the book that me and my kids are going to listen to is called Wonder by R.J. Palacio. There was a movie of this. We've seen the movie. It's about a kid that was born with a lot of birth defects and had to have a lot of surgeries. And because of that, hasn't been able to go to school. And now he's going to school for the first time and just hoping that everybody likes him. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully I enjoy it. Okay, so those are all the books that I plan to read in March. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. And I post new videos on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Thanks for joining me.